Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Accountants Therapy Meets MTD Software. Today, we are joined by Dext. Now, this webinar is being recorded. It will be sent out via the Eventbrite link if you signed up that way. If not, it will be available on YouTube and we will be publishing it onto social media. We do have the chat box open as usual, so get your messages in there. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box just because that makes our life a little bit easier when we're monitoring the questions. If you have got any questions, please fire away. These boys are fantastic to chat to. They've been in the accountants therapy group for quite a while now. Paul, you did software speed dating with us last year, which I think was absolutely brilliant. Some very witty comments in there. I enjoyed that one. Thank you. And without further ado, I will introduce Robin, my partner in crime, the lady that yeah, we'll just get straight on. I'm not going to say force of nature today, but she's been a force of nature this week. We've got so much work done. So congratulations, Robin. I've said it.
We're only on Wednesday as well. So yes, hello everyone. Welcome back for another episode of MTD Together. Let me introduce Max. Max, tell us a bit about yourself, your role at Dext, and then if you can introduce Paul and get going with the demo.
Of course, thank you very much for having us first and foremost, and yeah, looking forward to showing you what Dext has to offer. My name is Max Whiteley. I am a chartered accountant, so one of you guys on the call. So yeah, I was in practice for 14 years, specialised in all things cloud technology. Did a whole load with MTD for VAT. So excited to sort of be on the other end of the story, now working for a tech company for the last 2 years, where my role is a product domain expert, which effectively just means an expert in, or a so-called expert in accounting and bookkeeping. So I speak to our accounting and bookkeeping partners, find out what you guys want from the software, and then go and translate that to help our development teams go and deliver something that actually makes a difference to you guys. So yeah, I'm joined by Paul Lodder, who is my Dext co-host. So Paul, I'll hand it to you for a little bit of an introduction and to set the scene of what Dext have to offer.
Perfect. Thank you, Max. Afternoon, everyone. Delighted to be here and given the opportunity just to run through Dext Solo with you today. So for those who've not met myself before, I'm Paul Lodder, VP of Accounting and Product Strategy here at Dext. Like Max, I'm also a qualified accountant. I was in practice for 21 years. I was one of 8 partners in a large firm based in the north in Leeds, where in my sort of later years, I was head of our sort of digital transformation. Did one of the first VAT returns with QuickBooks, or the first VAT return with QuickBooks for MTD for VAT back in 2014, 15, I think we did it, obviously before the legislation came in. So I'm now very heavily involved in MTD for income tax as well. So
What I'd like to know, Paul, is are you going to make the move to be the first 25-26 MTD submission for end of year now with your background?
well, it's a good question. Probably not.
We love honesty in this channel.
Been there, done that.
Let's be completely honest. No. As nice as it would be, can you imagine having the 2 MTD badges as well, MTD for VAT and MTD for income tax? Sadly, and I'll go into it, Dext Solo only does everything up to the quarterly updates and we don't do the finalizations. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see who does do that first one for 25, 26. And
successfully does it.
Successfully, that's an important word. So yeah, with that, what I've got is a couple of slides, only 2 slides, and I will share my screen, and then I'm going to jump into the product and just show you some of the sort of high level sort of settings in relation to Dext Solo, which are critically important when we're looking at your clients for MTD for income tax. Then I'll hand over to Max, who will go into some of the real detail and the functionality within Dext Solo that can really help address some of the challenges when we come to MTD. So let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen. Perfect. So first of all, I just want to set the scene of where Dext Solo sits. And when I first started looking at MTD for income tax, there's two real parts to it in my mind. You've got everything up to the quarterly updates, and then you've got the finalisation of the tax return. And for me, if I was still in practice and wearing my practice hat, I think everything up to the quarterly updates is where you need flexibility, because every client is different, every client's needs are different. And also, there's a real change management exercise here as well. Some clients who provide you the perfect spreadsheet and always have provided you the perfect spreadsheet, you may decide not to change any of that process because it works well and that's perfect for clients. The bit which I think is particularly fixed in my mind is where you do the finalisation part, where you actually complete that self-assessment return. These tools are already embedded within your practices. Your tax teams are very comfortable with it. You've probably got nice pie charts showing the status of where tax returns are, and you've got all of your workflows built out. So Dext is very much focused on everything up to the quarterly updates and addressing two of the main points for me. It's completeness of records and getting information in from clients. So we specialize in all of that automation, all of that extraction as well. Now, on the right-hand side, what I have shown is all of the sort of various tax products. There's obviously lots more than this, but it's just to give a steer. But what we are also doing is working very closely with Iris to try and enhance that integration even further with Iris, because I don't think when you're looking at automation, you should necessarily just look at your clients who are mandated. There may be benefits for your non-mandated clients as well, where you can improve the quality of the records and also consider some of the other functionality that could benefit these clients as well, whether that be sales invoice creation or mileage tracking, whatever it may be. So we have two parts here: quarterly updates in Dextsolo goes to HMRC, and in essence, you can then pull those totals back into your existing tax compliance software, where you then do the finalisation of the return, and everything continues as normal from there. But what I wanted to show you is, and just building on the point that Dextsolo isn't suitable for everybody, which is why you need flexibility in the quarterly updates, is who is Dextsolo suitable for? Well, I've started with, is your client mandated for MTD for income tax? Because I think that's going to be the driving force for the majority. Whether they're mandated or not, I think it's going to be, if they're mandated, you're going to start looking at software. If they're VAT registered, Dextsolo doesn't support VAT registered businesses. And my view is the chances are, if they are already VAT registered, you're probably already using a general ledger, some accounting software to meet the requirements there. So why disrupt what is already working well? And in that scenario, I would do the quarterly updates in the accounting software that you're using. You're already doing the VAT compliance, just do the quarterly updates as well. If you need full visibility of debtors and creditors, then again, you probably need to use full accounting software. And I think it's worth just pulling out here that many of the MTD products out there, particularly, right at the lower end, they don't support a purchase ledger or sales ledger necessarily. Some do, some don't. Many, if you do need that, you'll need to go onto the full accounting software general ledger solution. And then finally, if you need comprehensive reporting, if you want a balance sheet, if you want your age debtors, age creditors, all of these things, then again, Solo isn't going to be suitable, because we are focused very much on those clients who've got all of these documents coming through. In essence, they're more focused on getting their tax completed, you advising them of your tax liabilities. They don't need all of the other elements to it. So this is where Solo really comes into play. And with Solo as well, we also support sort of complex documents with your rental statements, dental statements, CIS documents, where we can gross things up and everything else. So any client who's got a high volume of transactions, any client where you may be doing cash coding, any client where you're using documents and the bank space, Solo is absolutely perfect, and it's a standalone solution. Doesn't integrate with anything other than HMRC for those quarterly updates. So with that, I'm just going to jump straight into Dext, and I'll just stop sharing and just make sure, because I don't know if I shared the screen or the desktop, but hopefully you can now see that. So when you add a client into Dext, we have business clients, which are really your limited companies, your LLPs, your VAT registered clients, all of those sit on your dashboard. But you can also have your solo clients as well. And we'll provide some key insights around the number of documents, level of efficiency, and things like that. But let me just jump into one. And I'm just going to focus on the high level settings here before handing over to Max. So first of all is your income sources. You can have up to 5 income sources in Dext Solo under one license. So what this in essence means is, because at the moment we support self-employment income, UK property income, we don't support at the moment overseas property income. So what this means is you could have 4 self-employed sources, because they are all reported separately, each self-employed income source, and you could have a UK property income as well. And that UK property income could have multiple properties as well, and it could be jointly let property as well, which I will show you in a second. In terms of adding an income source, nice and straightforward. You can select whether it's self-employment or UK property. You can choose whether you want to do accruals basis or cash basis for reporting. I suspect in the majority of instances it's going to be cash basis, and that is the default now. Don't know if it was the budget before last they brought it in as a default, but you've got the option as to whether it's accruals or cash basis. And you've got the option as well whether it's standard fiscal quarters or calendar quarters. You have flexibility on on what the quarterly period type is until your first quarterly submission has been made. Once you've made that first quarterly submission, then it's locked down for the rest of the tax year. That isn't just a Dext thing, that is universal, or should be universal across all products. You can't change between different methods. So once you've got all that set up, you can then connect to HMRC, and then it's all live. So nice and straightforward in terms of adding your income sources. You've then got the opportunity as well with regards to your categories. Now, the category lists that we provide for UK property and self-employment, the default list effectively mirrors the notices from HMRC. These are sort of fixed categories. However, you can create your own categories as well, and you have flexibility to create your own category, and you can give it a name if you want, fuel. You just have to map it to the correct tax return box. If it's applicable to both, you choose a tax return box for both. If it's just applicable to the one, you can just do that. And you can also put in a disallowable element as well. So we can automate the calculation of the disallowable proportion based on anything that's been categorized to a particular category. So the examples I set up earlier are things like, you could have a category that you've set up called client entertaining. It goes to other business expenses. What will happen is anything that is posted to client entertaining, we will then automatically disallow 100% of it. If you wanted to, you could do one for penalties as well, and we will automatically disallow penalties. And then depending on how it works with your clients, but the clients I used to have in the past, they would put through all of their motor expenses, and then you would claim a proportion for business use versus personal use based on what's gone through, rather than claiming mileage. But we do have mileage tracker and calculation within Dext Solo as well. So once you're happy with all of your categories, then this is the starting point to automation. And you can also decide which categories are visible to your clients as well. So if you want to prevent them misposting or miscoding things, then you've got that ability there. If I just go back into our rented properties section, I just wanted to show you jointly let property as well. So within Dext Solo, this hasn't been officially released yet. It should be released this week. But what you can do is add co-owners, Mrs. Smith. So you can add as many co-owners as you wish. Then you can add as many properties as you wish as well. So you could have multiple properties here. And what you can do, you've got the ability to edit the ownership as well. So I could put that to 40%, 60%, and save that. I could have another property which I own 100% of, and it's all date sensitive as well. So you can actually put in from a certain point in time. And we will then do all of the calculations to automatically apportion all of the income and expenditure based on what their ownership period is, as determined by start dates and end dates as well. Under MTD for income tax, there is an easement for jointly let property owners where you only need to keep one set of digital records. So you can just keep one set of digital records within Dext Solo. And then at the moment, with the first release, you'll be able to export all of the necessary totals for the other beneficial owners. What will be possible over the coming weeks is if they're also using Solo, you can just transfer that information to their Solo account. The challenge is there's so many different variations here. You could have an individual who is mandated, who owns the property, and the other individual isn't mandated. You could have both individuals who are mandated. You could have an individual who owns part of a property that also has self-employed income as well. All of these scenarios we can support. We are just looking at enhancing that flow of information between individuals going forward. So that's all I wanted to cover at this point. It's just sort of setting the scene for the sort of foundational or the settings that are critically important. And with that, I will hand over to Max, who can really give us a bit of a deep dive into many of the features and the AI functionality that we have as well, that really helps in terms of that sort of categorization and treatment, particularly around expenditure. Thank you.
Thanks,
Perfect.
Paul.
Cheers, Paul. Okay, so Paul sort of set the scene there around the setup around Dext. We're obviously used to having Dext connected to a general ledger product, whether that's Xero, Sage, QuickBooks. So for it to be standalone, it needs its own chart of accounts, which Paul showed us there. But I'm just going to take everyone back to sort of basics to start with about what Dext does really, really well. And that is getting information from your clients and automating a lot of the manual heavy lifting. As Paul mentioned, quarterly filings are income and expenditure. So we want to keep this as simple as possible. And for the £2.50 per month per client cost that we charge for Dext, what we already have in Dext is super, super powerful. So just going to take you back in terms of how you would get some of your information from your clients to start to process for those quarterly returns. What you'd expect from Dext is we have this cost inbox. Historically, we would put items into this cost inbox, process them, and publish them into your accounting software. Instead, now they stay contained within Dext as it's a standalone solution, and they then get counted in our reports, ready to be filed to HMRC. So for you to get something from your clients, to put it to Dext, we have multiple submission methods, we call them. So I'll go into here and show you add documents within here. So as you can see at the top, you can add cost items, sales items, rental statements, bank statements within there. And we can add these documents into here. We also have a new thing that came in the last 6 months, which is a Vault, which is a secure document solution. So if your clients do ever send anything in to that Dext inbox, we can delete the pictures and selfies of the cats but there may be something else in there that you want to keep hold of, like a MOT certificate, insurance document, or something like that from within there. Okay, so the many methods, you as the accountant, so your client can still bring in that big shoebox of records and you can still use this internally. Ideally, the perfect workflow is this is in the hands of the client and they start to send things in on your behalf. Okay, so one method is we can drag and drop things from our desktop. I'll go ahead and select some from there so they can start to process. Jumping back off there, some of the other methods that we have within our cost section is a email. So each account or each user will be giving an email address. So that could be something like robin@dext.cc. What Robin would then have to do is send any email to that address and it will start to get processed in here, whether it was in the body of the email or as an attachment from within there. We also have a new release, which is our WhatsApp integration, and that looks pretty simple. It looks like this. If you have a client that's just hates having more software on their hands, they don't want to have another solution, and they get sort of overwhelmed by it, you can set them up as a WhatsApp user. They will then get Dext as a contact in their WhatsApp. They can send pictures. If they have multiple income streams, it will ask them where do you want me to send this to? And you can go ahead and click that and it'll navigate it in the same way. It'll then give the user some indication of like, yeah, that's gone through, or in this case, it's a duplicate. It already exists. We've detected that, so we've blocked it from going into the account. So really cool system from within there. Just it's blocking me whilst I'm showing me these. I'm great with that, but yeah. So yeah, we also have a invoice fetch solution, which you can connect Dext to things like Amazon and give it your login details. So say, for example, when Amazon, they always email you and it never gives you the proper invoice. It just says, click here to download it. Then you've got to go away and click here, download the invoice, upload it. You can simply give Dext your Amazon login details. Every time you get billed, it will go and take that from you and upload that to you from within there. And finally, we have the mobile phone app, which is obviously really, really useful for a lot of our partners within here. So if you're out and about, you've taken a picture of a fuel receipt, or you're entertaining a client, you have a mobile phone app, and it's simply just, a big picture button, camera button, really, really simple to use within that. Within that, we also have our mileage functionality, which is really good from the mobile phone. Effectively, what it does from the mobile phone, let me see if I can refresh that. I'm stuck, my demo environment stuck in a bit of a hole within here. Oh, here we go. So we have our mileage functionality within here. You can do it from your desktop where you go and click create mileage. From here, you can select your vehicle or who it is within the business that's making the journey. This will track, have you gone over that 10,000 limit? Do we need to change the claim from 45p a mile to 25p a mile? And we'll keep on top of that for you within there. You can say, right, okay, we can go from my hometown in Manchester to the Dext office in London. Pick the vehicle. You can say it was a round-way trip, one-way trip, put some descriptions, and you can create a claim from there. What will happen then is it will create a purchase invoice and just sit there within your cost inbox from within there. I'll go ahead and show you how that looks. So it looks like that. A little mileage claim that's just been created that will sit ready to be processed and included on your reports within there. Why this is super useful on the mobile phone app and not on the desktop is we have a GPS functionality on the mobile phone app. So you can get in your car, click start journey, it'll track you to wherever you're going, click stop journey, and then it will create this mileage claim for you, ready to be processed and included on those reports within there. Okay. What you'll see is those receipts have already come through within here. And here we have extracted all the information on the right-hand side, date, description, Dext is the best at extraction, accuracy, and speed. It's because we've simply processed that many documents. I think it was something like 1.5 billion documents over the last 10 years. And we contain them within our own sort of AI large language model. And what we don't tell a lot of people is we have like a human in the loop within here. So if our AI is ever gives like a percentage score but it's not 100% sure, let's say it sees Vodafone and then Vodafone UK at the bottom of the invoice, it doesn't quite know what to put the supplier to, it will go to a human in the loop. And that's been happening over the last 10 years. And we teach our AI, I think on average, something like 10 to 12 new things every single day, which you'll remember then for the future. So that 99% accuracy is sort of unrivaled when we come to the market within here. Okay. What we can do in here is we can set up supplier rules where we can say, right, okay, if you see that supplier, I always want you to do this with it. You see that from the likes of bank rules. We've tried to take this to the next level with our inclusion of our AI agents, which is included as part of your £2.50 per client per month charge at Dext within here. And you'll see within the history of this one, within this one, an AI agent has been applied. Okay. So before I show you the detail of that, what I'm going to do is go into the settings and talk to you about the AI agents. So just as a reflection, we can do supplier rules, but they are very fixed. If you see this, then do that. And it's very much structured around Dext within there. I want you to picture our AI agents, which we now call AI Assist, as that junior member of your team. Okay. You, as the accountant or bookkeeper, now have the power to instruct a junior to do some tasks for you, and it's all at your context. For me, AI needs to be instructed by the professional, because you are the ones who are going to be responsible if the AI goes wrong. Okay. HMRC's view is, go ahead, use AI, but you're responsible for any submissions that go off the back of that. So what we'll see from within here, we can create a guidance, and a bit like a sort of like a chat GPT sort of functionality. We give it a name and we say, right, okay, I want you to do this when you see this. Okay. I can then either ask it to suggest it to me. So suggest when it comes up, it says, I want you to apply this, or I can auto apply it to transactions from within there. Okay. So let me look at a couple of these from within here. Okay. Personal versus business. Okay. My client's business is providing accounting and bookkeeping services. I want you to flag anything that you think doesn't, seem normal within that trade. It will then put that document through and say, right, okay, you're a hairdresser. You've just bought a forklift truck. That doesn't seem like the sort of things you should be putting through your business. Let's go ahead and flag that within there. Same with capital versus, revenue. In the old world of supplier rules, if I went to PC World and I spent £10, my supplier rule said that PC World was office equipment. It's going to try and capitalize that. Now we can have a bit of context around it. So it's saying, right, okay, if you are buying something, if it's office equipment, computer equipment, it's above £200, then let's capitalize that. If it's below £200, let's put that as an expense through the business. Okay. And we can go and be as smart as we want within here. We've had some cool ones here, personal food. So if the client's buying booze on the weekends, let's flag it and say, right, okay, maybe that's not a business expense from within there. So this becomes, really, really useful, especially when the reality is that clients will use, there'll be a bit of a hybrid of personal and business banking all going on in the same bank account from within there. So if I jump back into our costing box to see some of those invoices, you'll see here, like I said there, JD Weatherspoon, what you've said there, it's already been categorized to personal. But if I look in the history here, flagged, it's been a document that's been flagged. So a flag there without me even touching it. And this is because the reason being it's food and drink at Weatherspoons on a weekend. Okay, so it's just been flagged there for us within there. We have another one here, exact accounting. Let's see what's gone on here. It's office equipment, but it's below £200. So it's gone to an other business expense rather than being capitalized from within there. And your clients will have their quirks, and you can be really sort of simple or as complex as you'd like within these as well. One more as an example from within here. Let's have a look at what this one is. Again, yeah, capital versus revenue. This is the opposite. It's a laptop costing £2,000, which is above £200 computer equipment. So we've gone ahead and we've capitalized that for you within there. Really, really smart. These are going to get better and better over time, and you can sort of, do as much as you want. And over time, these sort of time savings will start to compound, and you will start to automate a lot of the heavy lifting from within here. So supply rules, but on steroids, as you will, from within there. Okay.
Max, on that, can you prioritize the prompts to say, the AI agent is going to recognize three things on there. You said about JD Weatherspoons, or if it was over, capital for £200. Can you have one where no matter what, this is the prompt that overwrites all the other ones as a flag, as such, that says this is what I want you to make sure, no matter what, that's the top of the list every time is that prompt?
We do have am I right in saying, Paul, do we have a sort of like a hierarchy in terms of?
Yeah, there is a hierarchy. If you said, if you always see this on invoice, irrespective of anything else, do this. Simple as, and it's all natural language. Now, what this agent will also do is when you first start using it, you can actually get it to generate the guidance for you. Now, it's going to be less useful in Solo at the start because it looks at all of the past history and looks to see what you've always manually changed. And then it goes, I've noticed you always change this. Would you like us to automate it going forward? But it's learned from past history. For the majority with Solo, it will be coming up with your own sort of guidance at the start, because to Max's point, personal versus business is often a challenge. And when you actually tell it what what the trade of the client is, it's actually very smart because I put through my ACCA certificate or subs, and it said that's fine. I then created an invoice for Model Planes magazine, and it went, that doesn't look like it's got anything to do with your trade. But as Max was saying, for me, you're always in control, and you can just get these items flagged for your attention. So you can still double check, you can still make sure actually that's fine, sort of thing, or not okay. So it really brings in that flexibility and control.
How
And
fast is this developing for you guys? Because this is, I mean, impressive is one word for it.
This is super quick, and I'm working with a team at the moment as Max is, and in the next couple of weeks, there's a whole new level to this coming again, where you can start to, get really specific. So if you've got a long invoice from Amazon or Tesco's, you can start pulling things out separately in keywords. And as Max said, the difference for us compared to some of the other products as well, because we have 1.5 billion documents we train on now, and we're doing over 1 million documents a day, it continues to evolve. And just because we don't extract everything doesn't mean our language learning models aren't picking everything up. We look at everything on a document. It can even read handwritten stuff. And so if it says this is personal, handwritten, you can create guidance that says, if you see handwritten, this is personal, just put it to personal. So the skill is, I think, in a way, coming up with the guidance and understanding where your clients are sometimes getting things wrong. Because I think this is the biggest challenge with MTD is you can't change clients' habits. They will still send you everything. They will still put everything through the business. And this is where you can really start to remove a lot of the legwork.
And with your AI agent, do I need to create prompts for each client, or can I create? Well, what I'm basically thinking is creating my own member of staff that is the AI agent that then applies rules to all of my clients in one go.
So, funnily enough, I would say about 3 hours ago, because we've been discussing this internally, and the team have just asked me to first of all come up with some common scenarios that we could use as examples, but you'll be able to have your own database of AI guidance that you can then apply across the clients you want it applied to. So some of them will be standard. For example, if you see a penalty ticket, a penalty for a car ticket, whatever it's called, I just want this. This is how it should just be applied. You can't have tax relief on it. And you can just apply it across the board. In full Dext, it gets even more sophisticated because we deal with VAT, and that's where you can say, if you see the purchase of a car, automatically adjust the VAT to 0 rated. If you see the lease of a vehicle, automatically calculate 50% of the input tax. You can do anything you want in essence, and some things will be client specific, some things will be more sort of legislative, applies across the board. But yes, over the coming weeks, you'll be able to create your firm guidance that you can apply across all clients.
That's it's incredible, but it's also quite scary at how much our industry is about to change very, very quickly.
When we first saw this, I sort of sat back and I was like, this is huge in terms of what is about to happen. But you still need the accountability, you still need the knowledge, you still need to follow your guidance from the PCRT and your professional bodies. All of this is, you are still needing to make sure things are correct.
I like the fact you've got that flag system. I mean, that to me is keeping that human element in it is
It
what's
is.
important. And I think that's, yeah, I'm really impressed with that, guys. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to show you something as well on the sort of like the dark side of AI as well. So I've just jumped into another one of my demo environments within here. But here is a Tesco receipt from our lunch in London, £6.80. Paul approves my expenses. So I wanted to get a bit more out of him because he's quite a tight northern man. And I put it through ChatGPT and said, right, how can I get a bit more on this receipt? So it spat me back this receipt from within here. So it looked quite real, still got a bit of writing, it bends over the table, and it's now £10 instead of £6 from within here. What Dex will do is it'll flag it and just say, just let you know, we think this has been generated using AI as well within there. So we know there is a good side of AI and we know there's a dark side of AI, and we're trying to take a little step back and look at both of those within there. So just that I flagged that.
It's becoming a lot more common now. I've heard about this. I've seen some of the examples that I think Accounting Web showed a few months ago. It's going to be rife, isn't it?
It is.
I think so.
And the problem is people will then find workarounds to bypass it because it's no different when you look at tax legislation and things like that. People always try and find a way to avoid it or a different path, and I think this will and this is why we have to continue to evolve and use the most up-to-date models, being our own models internally, but also the best on the market as well, so that we can continue to pivot as the market does.
Yeah, and one final question I've got for you is, you said about if you write personal on invoice, I've just thought, if you've got, say, a Tesco receipt, is there a way that you could put like a number one means personal next to each item line? Because, for example, I've got fishing clients where they'll go and spend £400 in Tesco before the boat goes out to sea. No matter how much you beg, people will always, instead of having 2 trolleys, put through 20 quid's worth of personal stuff at the same time. If they write a little P next to the line items, and AI will split it.
This is what we're working on at the moment. So then you'll give the guidance to say, again, any line item, if you see P, allocate that to personal. For anything else, follow this guidance. So this is what's being worked on as we speak, because I used to do the same with, personal card, business cards, and we'd have PC, BC, everyone has slightly different things. And that's why having that flexibility with Dext AI Assist allows you to tailor it specifically for your clients, rather than telling your clients, you need to change what you're doing in order for this to work.
That's really good.
Well, perfect. So like I said, if the purchase invoices come in, you can go ahead and categorize them there. You can also allocate what income source it relates to, anything like that from within there. We do exactly the same from the sales functionality. A few things that I'll just reach out from within here. We have rental statement extraction from within here. So you can get your landlord statement and we'll come down here and we'll extract it for you in a matter of seconds. So really, really useful. I won't go into too much detail on that. We also support the extraction of CIS. So if you have CIS on your invoice, we can also do that. Have a look at that within there. I believe there's actually an AI agent that's been applied on here. So it says,
I created an agent for it.
There you go, an AI assistant. Paul's already one step ahead. He's created an agent that says if you see the CIS,
he's just showing off now, isn't he? Just showing off.
I don't like to give him much credit, but he's doing well. But yeah, so we can jump back into there, and if I'll show you in a second in the bank section, but we'll also gross up CIS as well if it's just from your bank statement as well from within there. One other thing to mention from your sales and cost inboxes is the ability to create documents. So if a document hasn't come through like an external source, we don't have the likes of journal entries to account for things within the software. We do this through sort of document creation. So one way is we can create sales invoices through Dext. This can be all branded up. You can put all your details in there and send your sales invoices out from Dext, which is really useful. We also have a create document functionality. So that just creates sort of like a receive money effectively within your account if you just want to have a bit more of a note of something. And you can do exactly the same from the cost inbox around like creating a document. So scenarios where this would be...
I was just going to say taxi drivers, it's been quite nice for.
Oh, for the sales.
Yeah, because they often, if it's cash receipts and they write it in their little book, you can just create a document for the end of the day and put all of your cash receipts in.
Yeah, brilliant. And then obviously from the cost side of things, we have things like use of home allowance or something like that, there'll never be a copy of an invoice for. So we just wanted to create a copy of that receipt just to make sure that spend, should I say, to make sure it's included in our reporting as well within there. Okay, so that's the costs and the sales section from within there. We also have our bank section from within here, and you can get your bank information into Dext through two ways. You can either create a bank feed, and I know someone asked in the questions box, is the foreign currency bank feed supported with Dext Solo? The answer to that is yes, there is. We're having a little bit of an improvement how our foreign currency bank accounts are reported in our reports, which I'll show you in a second, but that will be all fixed and sorted in the next 2 weeks. But the short answer to is yes, Dext does support international bank feeds from within there. So your bank transactions, whether you've scanned in a PDF and we've extracted it, or you've connected a bank feed, they will come into here ready to be dealt with. So you can do one of two things. You may have a client who doesn't actually provide you with any paperwork whatsoever, and you can cash code directly from within here. We also have bank rules within here. So, similar to what you'd expect in your general ledger product. If you see this, then do that. And we're also working on our AI agents to also be suitable to be working from within the bank section within here. From here, you can say what income source, what category, does it relate to a rental property from within there? So you can make sure everything is sorted from within here. If you would like some paperwork for things, you can select them and you can request paperwork directly from the solution, and the client will get pinged on their mobile phone to say your accountant's requested this from within here. But it also has the same functionality as like a small general ledger product would as well when it comes to banking within here. So this top one here, it said, right, okay, just let you know, there's something in your cost inbox that we think matches against this. You can double check it and make sure it's okay. And then you can just go ahead and match that transaction so that the cost item links to that transaction. If you are, selecting multiple transactions, you can go to the match section from within here, select the items that you want to see. If you wanted to look into those documents to see what they were, you can click that eye emoji there, and that will take you through that. But you can say, yep, it's related to them too. Let's go ahead and click match from within there, and it will split them out. You also have the option, if you are cash coding, to split transactions as well, like you would see here as well. So really, really useful, really, really simple to use. Just imagine, Dext as that sort of small sort of general ledger product from within here. So we have the full matching functionality for that accruals basis, or we can do cash coding directly from here if your clients don't provide any of the documents from within there as well. Okay, Paul, anything to add on the bank section? Oh, good. Perfect. Okay, so clients send something in through either a cost item or the bank statement or a combination of the two. We've got everything categorized and we're ready to sort of go from within here. So I'm just going to show you some of the basic reporting from within here. First of all, we have a tax report, which is all of your chartered accounts have been mapped back to a tax return box. Okay, there was some transactions in there that weren't mapped back to a tax return box, like personal, the capital transactions, things like that, that don't need to be included within the quarterly submissions. But here's your tax return box. You can drill down into all of these, deep dive into some of these numbers and really understand what makes up some of these numbers within here. But this is what you're going to be filing to HMRC, which Paul will go into in a couple of minutes. Okay, then we have our transaction summary report. So I'm just going to ping back to the same date range within here. And this is every single category, irrelevant of whether it's been mapped back to a tax return box. So this will surface things like, personal transactions that maybe weren't included in the report from before. So transaction summary is absolutely everything. Tax report is just the things that are going to go into that quarterly submission from within there. What we'll also flag throughout the process is just to let you know which, there is 6 categories in your chart of accounts that aren't mapped back to tax return boxes. We just want to let you know that within there. We'll also flag that, some of the items need reviewing. So there's either transactions in your in that date category that you haven't put an income source to, or you haven't put a category to, and you can go over to that and it will give you a list of all of the transactions that maybe need your attention before you should go ahead and submit that to HMRC from within there. So yeah, that's a little sort of summary on the world of reporting. What I would say at the moment is these are just for the eyes of the accountant, because we understand that our relationship is with accountants and bookkeepers, not the end vendor. We think because, historically, when you filled in a self-assessment online, there would be 1,000 boxes that you would have to go through and click through. Because we don't have that in here, it needs an element of judgment. It needs an element of professionalism for the accountant to understand what's missing and what's not. So we want, the power to be in the accountant's hands from within here. Over the next couple of weeks, we will give the accountant the option to, one, let their client do submissions, and two, let their client view reports from within here, but only when the accountant allows them to do. You won't be able to buy Solo direct from us if you haven't gone through an accountant or bookkeeper. But at the moment, the client can send everything in. They can categorize it and they can do all of the bookkeeping at the moment. They just can't make the filing or see these reports. But that will change in the next couple of weeks, as I mentioned there.
How's that gone down, Max, with accountants?
So a bit of both. So we did a MTD roadshow last year, and I asked the sort of room the question, do you want do you want your clients to be able to do this reporting? And it was a resounding, people didn't want their clients to do the reporting. They didn't want their client to come in here and say, well, look, it's already been done. Why do I need you? I can just do it myself. Because we know that it's not just been done. Even if the client can look at this report and see these transactions, we know, there's tax planning, there's an element of understanding some of these categories. There's a lot of other things. Have you had, job seekers allowance, pensions, charities, all of this stuff that maybe we don't consider from within here. So yeah, we have listened to that, and we want the power to be at the hands of the accountant, not the business owner.
Love that.
Cool.
Love it.
So Paul, I'm going to hand back to you, and we'll talk through some of the actually like the face of how it looks when we go to submit some of this stuff to HMRC.
Yeah, let me just share my screen. Now, I'm in a demo environment because, as you can imagine, trying to do anything with actions is impossible in essence. And, you've got to have an ASA, and there isn't any. HMRC won't provide sort of dummy accounts and things like that.
Not that they're trying to make it difficult for you, Paul, is it?
I think every vendor would just love a dummy Nino and a dummy ASA that would just make showing some of these things a bit easier. But what I can do is show you what it looks like with some sort of seeded data that we've put in. Now, first thing for me is, I'm not going to run through all of these sort of different things. These are all the different reports and dashboards in Dext. You can't manage your clients for MTD for income tax if you don't have a dashboard showing the status of all of the obligations. So the first thing is when your clients are connected with HMRC, you'll be able to see exactly the status of each of their income sources, what's due, what isn't due. What you'll be able to do is filter by manager. So if a manager phones up sick or anything and you've set it all up, you can very quickly go, right, this manager actually had all of this down allocated to them, who's going to pick it up. If you set up teams or you have multiple offices, you can filter by different teams, by different multiple offices. So all of this just gives you that sort of control hub, that central point where you know what's outstanding at any point in time. The actual submissions itself and what that looks like within Dext Solo is we pull through all of the obligations from HMRC automatically, and that's split by each of the individual quarters, and obviously that's cumulative as well. You can prepare the submission, and that will just pull through all of those totals from effectively the SA 103 or the SA 105 that Max was just showing you. If you want to see the detail behind, you can drill down into that. And again, you can drill down again, and it will take you to the source documents. If you want to see the image, you just keep on drilling down until you get exactly what you are after. If it's a jointly let property, you can see who all of the co-owners are, and you can view what their share is as well for that period in question. And you can export that currently as a CSV. One of the reasons we've done it this way initially is going back to the point right at the start is you may not act for all of these clients. You may only act for one party of that joint let property, and they may have a different accountant who uses different tax software for the finalisation. Now, we can provide you the information. Many of these products, like Iris, will then let you import that information directly into that tax software, which meets the requirements for MTD for income tax and digital links because there's no copying and pasting. This is everything being correctly sort of mapped and sent across. But we will enhance all of this functionality going forward. So if they're already also on Solo, any share of that property, in essence, you press a button and they will get that information pulled across to their account as well. As Max said, at the moment, when you do the submission, only the agent can do the submission at the moment, and that's all under their ASA. I've seen the prototype for that this morning where you will be able to invite your client to do the submission, but you are in control of that. Otherwise, the client doesn't have the ability. They will then put in their own government gateway and their own details to make that submission themselves. And actually, there's a bit of a growing trend around this recently that more and more firms, I think, are wanting to stay well clear of the quarterly sort of updates and just deal with everything at the finalisation, which I have different views on that, but everyone's got to do what's right for their own practice and their clients.
I'm all for control, me. I'm all for control.
And then one other part here of which we get mixed views on as well is there isn't actually a legal declaration when you do the quarterly updates to HMRC, but then some have said they still want that confirmation, and I still think it's best practice to always confirm with your clients at the point of doing a submission that they're happy and it's all been agreed, because ultimately it's their self-assessment and you're just the agent on behalf of that. Let me just jump back. So when everything is submitted, I just click here, you'll see all of the numbers have been submitted, but we'll also flag if there's a difference from the previous submission. This is less of an issue than it was at the start of the legislation, because previously it was quarterly updates in isolation. So you could do a quarterly update and then transactions could appear for that quarter that if you didn't pick up in the next quarter, now it's cumulative, it becomes less of a problem. Q4 is the only period where you've just got to make sure that you've got your cutoff and everything picked up correctly. And I've seen this in other products as well, where they'll just show you what has been submitted compared to what we're showing in the system. That then goes to HMRC. It's all recorded at HMRC, and any tax product that is recognised by HMRC for the whole sort of finalisation part can then pull those totals back. It's only the totals. It's not the sort of the underlying data, and from there you can deal with the rest of the return. So that's all I sort of wanted to show on that sort of final part, just to give you a steer of where everything ends within Dextsolo itself.
Wow. That was comprehensive, guys. That was really good. Thank you. Most of the time I've got a list of questions, but you've boxed most of those off. On the theme of a couple of questions I've got. So on the theme of the AI models, is there a language model where if you upload a French receipt, it can translate it for you?
Yes.
Can we translate it, the actual receipts? We're using AI models in France for French receipts, but I don't know if you can translate it. You mean into, British?
Into English, yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, we'll extract. We extract every sort of Latin-based language, so only things that we don't extract are things like Greek or.
Yeah, it's whether we can translate it. So if it says, I don't know any French.
Fish and chips.
If it said fish and chips in French, can it translate it to fish and chips? I don't know if it can do that, but that's an interesting, that would be an interesting feature to bring out.
Could you report back for us later? Is that
Yeah.
one
We
of
can
those
we can speak to the team about that. I don't think it does at the moment, but that doesn't mean we can't explore that in the future.
Because I've got clients that are now going over to Europe and buying their fishing gear over there. So they'll have a week over there, go to loads of demos, buy the equipment, and come back. I'm now an expert in translating the French fishing equipment terms into
Really
English because
interesting.
I've had to spend time trying to understand exactly
Yeah,
what it is they're buying.
it is something we have actually looked at before. You know, the have you ever used the Google Lens app on your phone where
Yes,
you hover it
yeah.
over and it translates it for you? So yeah, it's in the pile of suggestions. Maybe we need to revisit that one.
I
Yeah, we
think
can pick
maybe
up
my
the team.
expectations and what we're looking for in software, we're like trying to make sure everybody has absolutely everything. And I think that is an unrealistic expectation of us on software
It's
vendors.
an
I think.
interesting point though, because all of a sudden I've noticed it. If you can do that, why can't you do this? And the bar just keeps on getting
Yeah, I
higher
think
and
it's because of
higher.
AI. We're all
Yeah.
going, well, Chat GPT or Claude, whatever can do this. Surely you can do everything, Paul. Come on, guys. Why aren't you doing everything? But I think that is such an amazing bit of kit, and I'm interested to see where things go over the next few months because I kind of feel like
I,
every time you guys do a release, you're probably ready to do the next update and release, and things will move so quick.
we 100% are. I mean, we generally do we do hundreds of releases every year. Some of them are quite sort of behind the scenes, smaller things. Some of them are more significant. So something we did recently was you can now have different colored flags. But what we want to be able to do is get the AI agent to then say, if this happens, do it as a red flag, because I
Yeah.
definitely need some. If it's this, then do the orange flag. And you can define what the color flags actually mean, if that makes sense. So
Oh,
you
it does. Yeah. I mean, when I was saying earlier about priority of the prompts, if you then go to that next step of say, I would probably do, traffic light system. The reds would be, I would look at it as the senior or the practice owner. Oranges, management would probably look at, and the yellows, a junior could probably fix most of those.
Yeah, 100%. And what we would say is for anyone, using Dextsolo or even the agents, because it's a beta at the moment and it is available, or it's going to be more generally available in the next week, I think, next week. Any feedback, just send it across because we're always looking to, it's those sometimes small things make a big
Mm.
difference. And we're trying to come up with every possible scenario. And Max and I, and all honesty, we try and break it all of the time. Hence the handwritten stuff, the scrumpled receipt,
Yeah.
Yep.
all of these
AI
things. But
one.
you can go as far as sort of saying, and this is probably less so important in solo, but you can say if the delivery address is not the address of the business, but it's the director's address, and you give the director's address, because I'm sure we've always all
Yeah.
been there.
Building materials is the classic, isn't it?
Yeah, then you can actually flag it and say, actually, why is this being delivered to the director's home address? So
That's clever.
you can read anything. Other examples, if you're being charged VAT, but there isn't a VAT number, flag it for my attention. We're not saying it's wrong necessarily. We're just saying this is your guidance, and you've asked us to tell you that you probably just need to have a
Mm.
pair of eyes over it.
That leads me on next to my next question then. Will Dext be utilizing HMRC Assist?
Will Dex be using a, well, not at the moment.
Okay, good answer. Um,
Um,
so the reason why I
I-
say that is because I'm just trying to gauge all the software vendors as to how many are using HMRC Assist because it is being sold by HMRC as this amazing bit of kit. Quite frankly, what Dext is doing and what pretty much all the other vendors is doing is 10
Better.
times better than what I think HMRC Assist sounds like it's capable of.
I think you have to have the flexibility and the context and the control on a lot of these things to be able to often feel that you know what's happening.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just go out to the point, every client is slightly different, and that's where yes, there's some certain things which will work across the board, but other things, it's just like, actually, they always do it like this. They're never going to change it. So let's just try and remove the problem.
Mm. And I am really conscious of time, but have you got, can you spare us a few more minutes just to talk about how Dex pricing works for agents?
With Dext Solo, it's included for free within the £2.50 a month. Plus VAT, I will say plus VAT because most of these we're not VAT registered. So in reality, it's going to cost your client £3. But agents is included at no additional cost. In full Dext, we're still exploring it because, as you can imagine, some of the users I call it full Dext, thousands of documents and things like that. So there's sort of other considerations there. But at the moment, we haven't decided 100% on that. What we are planning on doing in the next week is you'll be able to turn on agents for 10 of your clients for unlimited use for the next month, I think it is. And you can just have a real play. And then again, in full Dex, what we're thinking of doing is sort of a low end. I don't want to give any numbers because we haven't decided, but it'll be unlimited for 6 months to get a feel for it. So you can decide which clients to use it on. The agent will also tell you which clients we think Dext AI Assist could be used on.
Right.
Where we think there's the greatest value.
Really smart. That's very smart. It's like again a better version of HMRC Assist, isn't it? Where you're actually giving useful information.
Yeah.
So next steps then. Anybody watching this today, they want to find out more about Dext. How do they get in touch?
They can either head over to our website and you can book a call with our team directly from our site. And yeah, or if you have any other questions, myself and Paul are available on LinkedIn. We are real people. We are not AI. So if you do have any questions or suggestions or anything like that, we're always open to any direct contact as well. So yeah, go onto our website, request a call with the team, or reach out to us. You going to say something there, Paul?
I was going to say, and if you're attending any of the events coming up, just come across to the stand and have a chat, and we can run through any of this in more detail as well.
That sounds good. You're at Fab and Accountex, I assume?
Yes. We'll be at them all.
Fantastic. Right, I'm going to put you on the spot now, though. I'm no rover, but I've got to get this answer. Favorite feature in Dext? Far away.
Mine is actually not necessarily a feature, it's an insight. It's the delay day indexed insight that we have if you're on our advanced platform. And the delay day index looks at the date of a document compared to the date it was uploaded. I think this is so important in terms of everyone talks about advisory. I don't know how you can drive advisory if your numbers aren't up to date. So and the wider repercussions. So if you have a delay day index of 40 days, what it means is on average, it takes 40 days for documents to land indexed. That has repercussions on the VAT return. It has repercussions on management information. So mine's actually an insight because I think that one insight, I've seen it with firms, if you get that number down, it actually has a massive positive impact on the rest of the workflow. You're not chasing clients. You've got completeness of records and you can turn things around quicker.
And yeah, I don't know, for me, it'd probably be, if we're talking solo, it probably would be AI agents. I know we've talked about it a lot on this call. If it was full Dext in terms of using the general ledger, it'd be the basics of auto publish. Like Dext is the only platform on the market that has that level of accuracy. Xero released at XeroCon this year, the ability to start to auto reconcile bank transactions. And I know what's not perfect, and I've tested quite heavily, and it needs a little bit of work, but it's sort of a direction of travel to where we're going. So for me, Dext is the only platform that a document can be sent in by a client, extract it with all this accuracy, with the help of an agent if it needs something to be changed. That will then go to Xero. Xero will rec it off against the bank statement. We can start to spend a bit more time, advising clients and doing some of the funkier stuff rather than just the manual data entry. So yeah, auto publish, been there since the beginning of time, really underutilized. Can really make a difference to a lot of businesses.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.
That's always my favorite question to hear. What your favorite feature is. I just have one other question as well. Was there ever a temptation with the level of accuracy on the AI to cut agents out of the process, or has that just been a core thing for Dex to make sure that the human is involved? And I imagine you've said already, even with the AI, there's still a human involved.
It's still important and it always will be. I think it's something like 88% of the documents automatically go through Dext without any human involvement. And we have like an 8-step plan, or an 8-step thing. If you ever hover over when we're extracting the information, you can actually see it working, going through it. And many of you will also see documents just go through within seconds. If it fails one of those, that's when it gets passed to a human. Now, what we find is most of the time, you can't even read those documents with the human eye, and it's not even a document or sort of that needs to be done. It's just something that's been uploaded. So I think it's still critically important to have that human in the loop because this is all about trust. And for me, we have to maintain that level of accuracy. Otherwise, there's the natural sort of instinct to go back and double check everything, and then you lose all of the efficiencies.
Yeah. And we are, we are responsible. I said this before, we're responsible if we do something wrong for that client. We've got to keep ourselves accountable for it. So I've tested every AI product in the accounting space on the market 10 times over. And yes, you can have an AI product. Yes, it can be linked to HMRC guidance, and that's great, but there's no context. Does the client have a vehicle in the business, or is it a personal vehicle? Or the hairdresser or a builder, two different things completely. Are they VAT registered? Are they not? Do they do this? Do they do not? So without that context of that individual client and what they're trying to do or what they are doing, we're just sort of like logically guessing. We're sort of going to HMRC, asking some questions and spitting something out. So I don't like these accounting tools that are, AI driven. You've got no control over the AI. You can't choose whether it's on or it's off. Sometimes it does change something. Sometimes it doesn't. It's really hard to spot sort of inconsistency. So when you treat it like a member of the team, it becomes, super, super powerful. You're responsible for that member of the team. You're responsible for the AI and the work that it does as well. So that's the way I look at it.
Very nice to hear. Good stuff. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today, showing us more about Dext Solo. Assuming you don't have any other comments you'd like to add at this point, now's the time to interrupt if you do.
No, that was perfect.
No? Okay, or put your hand up.
We could talk all day otherwise.
Yeah, should we just book in an
fine.
afternoon for a session at some point?
Absolutely fine. So it leaves me just again to say thank you very much for joining us, Paul and Max, and thank you to all of you that were able to join us live. If you do have any questions that have not been answered, please put them on the chat and tag Paul or Max in them. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.